Hi, this is Ryan Lawler. I'm backstage here at TechCrunch Disrupt New York 2013. I'm here with Gentry Underwood, who is the co-founder of Mailbox. You guys just sort of hit lightning, like caught lightning in a bottle, but I think one of the misperceptions about Mailbox is that, you know, is that it did just sort of come out of nowhere, but you were working on sort of this idea of productivity for a long time. So tell me a little bit about sort of the background of, what you built and how you got to the idea of Mailbox.
Sure. Yeah. No, Mailbox did not come from nowhere. At least not for us. Mailbox is really version 2 of Orchestra, a shared to-do list that we put in the App Store in the fall of 2011.
Okay.
After about 8 months of working on it, Orchestra itself, when acquired, was about 2.5 years old. And actually, inside the company, we were in an endless cycle of iteration and prototyping and releases that eventually evolved into Mailbox.
Okay. Because I remember, when I first heard that you were working on this mail app, it was, I don't know, I think the first email I sent to you was maybe August of 2012 or October maybe. But it wasn't until December that you had product that was, sort of beta ready for people to play with. So what was sort of happening along that time?
Well, the road to Mailbox as Mailbox began even before that.
Okay.
We were really digging into what was working and what wasn't working with Orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
And we started with this realization that a to-do list was kind of a broken idea, that everybody fills up to-do lists with stuff they need to do, and that's a great moment because you're getting your life organized. But the more people use them, the more they fill up with this stuff that never gets done. And so you create this experience where what at first felt like this wonderful moment of getting organized begins to feel like this nagging sense of, ugh, I have so much to do.
Okay.
And that creates actually a disincentive to use the tool. So it's pretty common for people to declare bankruptcy on to-do lists and start
Right.
over. And we were working on that and trying to figure out how we could build a better organization tool that didn't have that property. And that's actually what led us to this concept of snoozes.
Mm-hmm.
Basically the idea that instead of having this list that was staring back at you, you could file something away and it would come back to you, back to your list when you actually needed to deal with it. And that we were working on that, basically like a new version of Orchestra that was more oriented around this snoozing system. And as we were testing it, we realized that it wasn't solving all of our problems. That this other big issue was that people had all of this stuff that they needed to do still trapped in their email. Mm-hmm. We had a great forwarding feature where you could forward a message to Orchestra from your email, but it was really slow.
Right.
And so we had this kind of what if moment in March of last year. What if all of your email somehow also was in Orchestra? What would that be like?
Right.
And that seemed like a crazy idea at the start, and we pushed on it, and it felt a little less crazy. And eventually, through a series of iterations, we realized, what if Orchestra just held email, and what if we pared the features down to basically creating a mobile-first email app that was really oriented for the things people were trying to do with mail on their phone.
Right. So when you actually finally got to the point where you had product ready, then you had another problem, right? Where, what you're offering wasn't something that you'd be able to scale up right away. And so you did this reservation system. And it was kind of a way to make the app available, but to get around sort of Apple rules, it feels like.
It wasn't really so much about Apple rules as it was just about communicating to the user a need to wait when that's not something that people are familiar with in the world of apps. Mm-hmm. We knew, well, there were a couple of things affecting this. One was the fact that in order for us to perform a lot of the magic that we perform around mail, Mailbox checks users' mail on their behalf from the cloud,
right,
and reformats messages and basically passes that down to the device. So you've got this server component that does create scaling issues. And we knew we were going to need to scale that service. at first we weren't too worried about it because we just really didn't expect that big of a demand for the product. We launched this video in December and had like set up for ourselves what felt like the audacious goal of having 100,000 views of this video before releasing the product maybe a few weeks later or maybe a month later. And it took about 4 hours to hit that number. And so we went from being very excited to being a little bit afraid because everyone on our team knew that if we launched a product that spent its first 2 weeks just down because it was getting so slammed, that we'd lose this great opportunity we had. But at the same time, if you download an app from the App Store and you can only turn an app on or off, you can't let people selectively download it.
Right.
You're in this situation where people expect to use the thing right away. It's something they've brought onto their device. It lives on their phone. There's this personal sense of ownership over this tool that's been downloaded. It's not really thought of as a service. And so that took us to this place where we realized we needed to put some kind of information in place that helped people understand that they were going to need to wait and how long they were going to need to wait. Right. We didn't know the answer in terms of time, but we knew it in terms of at least how many other people were basically ahead of you. So we grabbed the take a number idea from a deli and sort of went to work with that.
Okay. And how big did that reservation system, or how long did that line get? I seem to recall it was like, I got in kind of early, but people were saying, at some point it was like 750,000, maybe 1 million.
Yeah, it started pushing up near 1 million in terms of the actual number of people waiting at one time, which was a little scary. But our engineering team are just rock stars, and they literally worked around the clock, scaling the system and replacing pieces as it grew, and as certain pieces basically couldn't handle the load anymore. They rapidly evolved our back-end architecture over and over and over again. Literally worked 24 hours a day around the clock for weeks, which was exhausting. But we got to a place where we were able to sort of increase the rate with which we could bring people on to be much faster than the rate at which people were signing up, which allowed us to knock that list down.
Now, and that was all happening sort of around the time where you were already acquired by Dropbox, right? So did that help out at all? Like being able to sort of lean on resources that they might have had? We
were able to get a little bit of help, adding a little bit of resources to the team. But I think really the opportunity with Dropbox is more of an ongoing one. There was a lot of cost in the process of acquisition and negotiating and all that sort of thing. And then, moving the team to a new office and getting situated in a new place and everybody just getting used to a new commute and all that sort of thing. There were definitely some costs there, but Dropbox brings so much in terms of culture and a really, really talented team and a much deeper recruiting pipeline and all sorts of things that we get to take advantage of. So.
Okay, cool. So you're available on iPhone now, and we hear Android users want to use this. In fact, I had a guy approach me yesterday that said, "Oh, we built Mailbox, but for Android."
We should think about doing that too.
iPad, desktop. Yeah. I'm in this uncomfortable place where I love the app. I use it all the time, but there are some emails that I can't send from my phone, or I need to think out. And so I go through this process of clearing out the stuff that I can clear out, and then, opening up my laptop and doing that. How do you solve for that?
Yeah, it's a funny dance, and we know full well that this mobile era is not a world where we only live on our phones. It's actually a world where we mix time between laptop or desktop and any of a number of mobile devices. And it's obviously something we need to be responding to from a design perspective. As a startup, it's one of the things that you have to do is be ruthless about focusing and figuring out which pieces of your product you're going to develop that are going to maximize the chance of you knowing whether you're on the right track and features that really help you grow in the right way. Desktop, other mobile devices, other email platforms, these are all very, very important things to us. We're going to tackle them as quickly as we can.
Okay, but can you tell me what your roadmap is? What's next? Is iPad next? Is Android next?
That would take all the fun out of it, wouldn't it? Yeah, in general, we don't talk about releases until they're available, but there are rumors on TechCrunch if people.
There are rumors on Twitter.
Yeah.
On your own Twitter account. Excellent. Well, thanks for stopping by and being with us. And I'm glad that we got a chance to talk.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.